What is up, YouTube fam? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a little review of the proton particle that I got in my Gyropalooza box versus a couple of different MVs and a tempo. We were at Jonesville today here in Gainesville, Florida, and unfortunately my microphones were not working and I couldn't figure out how to get them to work, so we're just going to do a little post-production, voiceover on some of the throws. But the cool thing about this channel is I throw left-handed and right-handed, so my lefty backhand is what I predominantly throw and is what I'm best at, but my righty backhand is also like pretty serviceable. And you'll see in the clips I did some lefty backhand throws on hyzer, flat, and anhyzer. And then I did one set of righty backhand throws, and my righty backhand is pretty like amateur level, so you'll get a good like MA1 look at the particle compared to like the NV and the tempo, and then like an amateur level look at those discs. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Alright, so I'm going to start off with throwing my Plasma NV. It's an old patent number, or patent pending NV. I'm going to start off throwing everything on hyzer here. We're throwing everything to that basket that is right there in front of us. It's about 275 to 79 feet. Big thing is we're just trying to throw everything on hyzer and see kind of how it all plays out. I'm going based off of stability, in my opinion. The Plasma NV is probably the straightest NV, and then after that would be this Total Eclipse Space Race NV I have. I threw it a little wider than I intended. I'm kind of aiming towards those dead trees to the left. Next I'm throwing my Fission NV, which is surprisingly more overstable than the Total Eclipse. Threw that one a little wider and on a better line, and I made the correction really well. I actually put that one like right under the basket, which is really good. Next thing I'm going to throw is the particle. I feel like the particle in the hand is a little deeper than the NV, and it's got a little bit more glide, I want to say. It kind of goes like sneakily far. But the numbers on the particle is... Oh, here's my Rebirth NV. Sorry, I'll get to those numbers here in a second. This is the one I think is going to fly the most like the particle. But the numbers on the particle are 3302 and a half, and then the NV is 3302. And then I also have a tempo that I brought to throw because the tempo is 4402 and a half. So I want to see if the 2.5 fade was similar to the particle. And throwing all these on hyzer, you can kind of see that they all come out with a good fade. I threw that one nice and high, gave it a chance. Now I'm going to go basically the same order, but I'm going straight at the basket, trying to put them nice and flat, and really trust that they're just gonna go straight with a little finish. That Plasma MV, affectionately named Butters, is like one of the best MVs I've ever thrown, but because it's a patent pending one, I don't have it in my bag. But leaked that one out a little bit right, made the correction through this Total Eclipse one with a little bit of anhyzer probably, but pretty straight in all reality. Throwing the Rebirth NV. Still trying to figure out which one was more overstable between this one and the Fission one. I think after this throw I came to the realization that that one's more overstable than the Fission one, which is kind of surprising because when I first picked up that Fission one I thought it was going to be flippy. But it's actually a pretty stable NV. Made a good correction there off of the Rebirth NV that I kind of leaked. That one's going to be a little left, but they're all pretty much in the circle. And then throwing the particle. In my opinion, it has a very similar flight to like a more overstable run of NV. And you can kind of see it here with the flat throw. It kind of gets to the ground a little quicker, and it has a little bit more bite like to the ground at the end. It says it has a 2.5 fade, and that's why I kind of brought the tempo out here to check that. But this tempo is definitely more overstable than that particle. Going into a little bit of an anhyzer throw. I'm going to put these a little bit out to the right and trust that they're going to drift back and kind of hold that panning line. All of these, I was like honestly pleasantly surprised. The only shot I think that kind of came out a little off was the particle. Unfortunately, I threw it a little bit like right at the basket, thinking it was going to flex, when in all reality, it's just going to hold. And you'll kind of see that here in a second. All of these other ones that I threw before were perfect. I threw them exactly how I wanted, a little bit right of that dead tree, and just let them drift back and hold that pan. I didn't put a lot of height on these because it being 279 feet, I didn't want to go way past. I'm not going for like a distance shot or anything. I'm just trying to put them close, and all of these were pretty much within like circle one, which was pretty nice, I think, except for the particle, which you'll see after this rebirth envy shot. Honestly, I like all of these disc and shot shapes. The envy is really agreeable for me. It's something that I've bagged for a while. I actually bagged that total eclipse one for a long time. Here's the particle shot. You can see I kind of started more at the basket than like right of those dead trees like I had been, and it just holds it nice and just like stays left. It never really flexed out. Granted, I really didn't give it the height to flex out, but it never wanted to turn and burn either for as low as I threw that. The tempo, same thing. And then now looking at the envy, we're going max distance shots here. That's the plasma envy, just putting it with decent height. It's got a good little flex line, and honestly, I feel like I really got into that one. That's probably like my straightest envy, so I'm not surprised that it went so far. Going up a little bit in stability with this total eclipse envy, gave it a little bit more height, had a little bit more turn, and it looked really good out of the hand, but it just kind of fell out of the sky at the end. It didn't get really that push that I was looking for. Going with this fission envy next. Trying to do the same thing, give it some height, let it kind of glide out there and drift a little bit left to right. All of these distance shots felt really good for me with the envy. The envy is something that I feel like it goes like sneakily far. Same with like the hex from Axiom. But this rebirth envy is probably my most overstable envy, and I really try to put some juice on it. And it barely turned over and then just fought out of it and faded pretty good. They all landed pretty much next to each other. Going off of that shot, I try to do almost the same thing with this particle, with the mindset of it having the same stability as, that exact rebirth envy. Out of the hand, I put it pretty good. It drifted a little bit left, but not much, and then just had a nice little fade at the end. Excuse me. And it feels really comparable to just like a good overstable run of envies. I'm going to try to throw the tempo here on like a big distance line, but I threw it way too low. This is the final results. Pretty much all of the envies and the particle were next to each other, and then Butters, that patent pending plasma envy, was probably like a good 15 feet farther, and it measured out at 355 on U-disc, but it was plus or minus 10, so anywhere from 345 to 365. Here I'm going to be throwing all these right-handed, so you can get a good look at like what kind of like a lower arm speed, amateur, recreational level arm speed would look with these discs. I started off with that plasma one. Now I'm throwing the total eclipse. And if you notice, I'm looking at my watch on all of these throws. It's because I can see my camera through my watch. So I'm just making sure it's in frame. That one, I threw it with a little bit of Anheuser. It came out pretty good. But the basket I'm throwing to is about 310 feet. And I'm throwing all of these probably like 270 probably. I'm not really putting max juice into them, but I'm trying to put as much juice as I can and still be like pretty accurate towards the basket. Usually 300 feet with my right hand's gonna be a mid-range. I'm never really gonna pull out a putter like this right-handed to try to get there, so this is really trying to push the distance for me right-handed. All these came out pretty good except for this one. This one I just early released left, which was kind of a bummer because that's the one that I compare to the particle the most. So I try to make the correction here, put it a little more right and a little bit flatter. I got a pretty good rip on this right-handed. Surprisingly, it still went probably like 270, 280, but it was pretty flat and straight for my lower arm speed right-handed, which was interesting. Tempo, same thing, just kind of put it out there wide. Now I'm going to be throwing hole 1 here at Jonesville. It's 310 feet, going with that Plasma Envy first. You can kind of see the basket. It's literally dead straight in between those two trees, the one leaning left and the one shooting straight up. Plasma Envy was a little short, but pretty much on line. Going with this Total Eclipse Envy. Absolutely love this out of my hand. I thought it was going to ace. It was just a dead laser beam right to the basket, and it's right next to the basket. And then going with the Fission Envy, I'm going to put this one a little wider and a little higher because I knew it was going to fade out, so I wanted it to fade towards the basket as opposed to trying to put like a little flex on it. And then I'm going to try to do the same thing with this Rebirth Envy, but I yank this one over because I try to like overcorrect, thinking it's like super overstable, when in all reality it's just a slightly overstable Envy like that Fission one. So I'm glad I did that with that throw and not the particle, because I really wanted to see how the particle would fly. So I threw it more like that Fission one, and it came out perfect. And then as you can see here, I'm walking up to all my discs on hole 1, and it was a pretty good grouping. The Fission is parked, and then you have Butters, which is inside circle. You have my Total Eclipse MV, which is also inside circle, and then the particle actually went a little deep. If I didn't hit that tree, I would have been a little farther, but overall, really good grouping and a really good showing on, you know, a 310-foot hole there at hole 1 in Jonesville. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review.